Hi, my name is Dan Watman, and I'm the founder coordinator of the Binational Friendship Garden of native plants. So the garden was originally planted back in March of 2007. My job as kind of the coordinator of a project called Border Encuentro was to always find some kind of common interest during the environmental festival to bring people together and make friends through the border wall and do something to help our environment. And so I came up with the idea of native flora being the common interest in a school here in Tijuana, middle school, and a high school group from Kearney High School in San Diego came together and planted the Binational Friendship Garden of native plants. The idea was to create a space where people can make friends through the fence and also promote native flora of the region together. So in the garden we have around 30 some odd native species. We get a lot of our plants from hormiguitas. When we started it, kind of through Sabemos la Playa, there were several environmental organizations here in Tijuana that got involved, and the main organization that we've worked with here on the Mexican side is Proyecto Fronterizo de Educación Ambiental. It was way back in 2010, we formed a group called El Grupo de los 12, the group of 12, and there were 12 organizations, all environmental organizations here in Tijuana, and each organization would take over the garden for a month, and Tijuana Calidad de Vida was one of the Grupo de los 12, one of the most active of the 12 organizations for sure. Through a lot of insistence and persistence, the garden grew and the community grew around it so much that in 2015, a food justice group here in Playas de Tijuana called Cultiva Ya worked with us to give workshops on how to grow your own food. And as part of that workshop, the participants built 2 food beds with the purpose of promoting that idea of growing your own food, spreading that movement, and also to provide food for anybody that's hungry. It's been a constant struggle on the U.S. side to try and maintain the garden. They bulldozed it in 2020, January 2020. You can imagine how devastating that was for me. Luckily, when that happened, it wasn't just me that the garden was important to. By that point, it had been here for 13 years, and there's a pretty strong community behind it. There was a really fierce outcry from the community when that happened, and so much so that it got in the news and in national and international news, and Border Patrol reacted by apologizing and letting us come back in and replant. Nature is kind of the uniting force that brings everybody together, and we kind of try and uphold the philosophy of the Kumeyaay people that have been here for over 8,000 years, that this land doesn't really belong to Mexico and that land doesn't really belong to the United States, but rather we all belong to the land. I really feel that as residents of the border region, we have an opportunity, and being in a space that has a shared ecosystem, we can show the world the necessity to transcend barriers in order to protect our environment. I hope that the garden can be a symbol of that necessity for collaborating